Hello, I'm Kelda Yun. Police are still searching for a missing 3-year-old boy in Mississauga. He was last seen at Arundel Park last night at around 6:30, where he was spending the evening with his family. Greg Ross joins us now from Arundel Park. And Greg, what's the latest on this search?
Well, Calda, I can tell you that search and rescue crews have been here in Arundel Park all night and all day today, frantically searching for 3-year-old Zaid Abdullah. His mother and father were also here through the night, and we did actually get a chance to catch up with them earlier today. They are hoping and praying that their son is found here. They tell us that Zaid was in this playground right here behind me. He was playing here last night at around 6:30, and they said they took their eye off him for about a minute, and then suddenly he seemed to vanish in an instant. His mother spoke to us earlier this afternoon. She told us that they are newcomers to Canada and they were here in the park having a family day.
Zed is playing in the ground, our kids, and he's lost.
So he was playing in the park?
Yeah, in park. Yeah, I came in Jordan this month and a half, but came here in Dundas Road just week. I think this week.
Obviously, the family is hoping that he is somewhere in this park, safe and sound. We're told that Zaid is just 3 feet tall, and when he was last seen, police tell us that he wasn't wearing any shoes or socks. He was wearing a yellow shirt with red lettering across the front and black pants. We're also told that he's nonverbal. Police say that people who live in this area should be on the lookout.
We are asking people in the community to keep your eyes open for Zaid. Check, if you live in the area, to check the area and think like a 3-year-old. They like to hide under bushes and places that they can fit that certainly adults won't fit.
Now you can see just behind the park here, there is a dense wooded area there. In fact, there's quite a bit of wooded area all around this park. And then just on the other side of these trees right here is the Credit River, which runs right through this park. Now, the police search today seems to be focusing on a dam in the Credit River, which is literally just on the other side of those trees. So it's steps from this park, the last place that Zaid was seen. They brought in a giant excavator earlier this afternoon, and they were clearing away some debris in front of that dam that had gathered during a recent storm. Rescue divers were also on scene searching in that area. At this point, though, police are not providing any details about the particular area or why they're searching that area. They do have a large portion of the park cordoned off with yellow police tape. You can see that behind me there. And they believe that he is somewhere still in this park, Helda.
All right. Thanks so much, Greg, for the latest. That's Greg Ross reporting live from Arundel Park in Mississauga tonight. Organizations supporting Black refugees in Ontario held a demonstration in front of Queen's Park today. While they acknowledge progress has been made since last summer that saw hundreds of refugees sleeping on the street, they're arguing more needs to be done, and they're calling on the provincial and federal governments to provide more money so that cities across Ontario can properly house asylum seekers. Chris Glover has more.
And I could not have forgiven myself had I not come. I was not willing for my parents to receive a call one day that I'm not there. And I had a child to protect, so I wasn't willing. It was worth it. I am getting emotional.
A full year after Diana Mathenge arrived in Canada, reflecting on her desperation to flee Kenya still brings her to tears. Like hundreds of other African refugees who came to Toronto last summer, she had no place to go. She was grateful to sleep in a crowded church basement before ultimately finding a house and a job.
It takes a toll. You have to be so strong, and I'm privileged to have all these tribal structures, but I cannot close my eyes to my brothers and sisters who don't have this. It takes a toll.
We were not sure who to call because we were not being supported by the government.
She shared her story in front of Queen's Park alongside a collective of organizations who have been supporting African refugees since they flooded into the region last summer.
We urge the City of Toronto to expedite these plans and ensure that new shelter spaces are available as soon as possible.
While they call on the city to open more shelter spaces, they say other levels of government need to help. They first started last year calling for a refugee reception center in Peel to support people arriving at Pearson Airport. And they want to enhance the benefit payments given to refugees as they seek to find work.
We now stand up. So as a group, a collective, we're standing behind the cities and we're asking the Ontario government and the federal government to please stand up and take your place.
In a statement to CBC, the federal government said from 2017 to last year, it put nearly $1 billion in its interim housing assistance program and committed to another $1.1 billion to help support asylum seekers arriving over the next 3 years. Last year, when you saw all of those people on the street at the intake center on Peter Street, what did you feel? What did you think?
It was, I must say, it was like a humiliation.
Patrick Masije was a queer rights activist in Uganda before fleeing to Canada in 2022. He feared for his life in his home country, where something called aggravated homosexuality is punishable by death, and dealt with struggles himself when he arrived in Canada.
The experience of facing homelessness, facing anti-black racism, discrimination, and finding work is what led me to establish the Hope for Refugees organization, which is right now supporting about 600 plus refugees and asylum seekers in Ontario.
He says there's only so much groups like his can do, but he says governments can fix the refugee housing crunch.
So for us, we came here to actually kind of like peacefully and respectfully protest and say there is much more that needs to be done.
Even now, African refugees are arriving in Toronto with no place to go. Outside the Peter Street Intake Centre, not as many people left stranded as last summer, but the city says 53% of the 12,000 people in Toronto's shelter system are refugee claimants. And every day, more than 200 people are being turned away from a shelter bed. People like Abdel Mahmoud Amat Ushar, who's been sleeping on the street since arriving from Chad 3 days ago.
I have not choice.
Advocates say the choice is now up to governments to get serious about long-term solutions to Toronto's ongoing refugee crisis that has faded from public view over the past year, but continues nonetheless. Chris Glover, CBC News, Toronto.
Toronto police have arrested a 21-year-old man and a 16-year-old boy in connection to a murder in Scarborough last month. Emergency crews were called to a restaurant near Kennedy Road and Lawrence Avenue East shortly before 2 a.m. on June 22nd. Toronto Fire says they found one person inside the restaurant who was pronounced dead at the scene. Police have identified the victim as 26-year-old O'Brien Todd of Toronto. The two suspects are facing numerous charges, including manslaughter. And Toronto police have also arrested a man in connection with a fatal shooting in April. Officers responded to a shooting in the area of Lawrence Avenue West and Ralph Street just before 5 p.m. When they arrived, they found 32-year-old Mohammed Abdi Dual suffering from gunshot wounds. He was pronounced dead at the scene. A 32-year-old man from Edmonton was charged with second-degree murder. There are growing calls for better safety measures for cyclists after the death of a 24-year-old in Yorkville yesterday. As she was fatally struck by a dump truck as she exited the bike lane and continued on the road. Nama Weingarten has more.
It was right here during the morning rush in the area of Bloor Street West and Avenue Road that the young woman was hit by the truck. It happened when she exited the Bloor bike lane going west and continued on the road in the same direction. What remained at the scene yesterday was a rideshare bike on the ground near a helmet and a pool of blood. It's still unclear why the cyclist exited the bike lane, but police say a construction bin was sitting in that lane at the time of the crash. City Councillor Diane Sachs, who represents the area, wants those responsible for blocking the bike lane to be held accountable for the young woman's death.
And both of them acted illegally. I certainly hope to see both of them charged with criminal negligence causing death.
This is the 5th time a cyclist has died on the streets of Toronto this year, making 2024 the deadliest year for cyclists in the city since at least 2019. David Shelnut, a lawyer representing cyclists, said there's a reason for this upward trend.
As much as we're horrified, we're not surprised. We represent a number of people who have had to come out of bike lanes as a result of an obstruction or a blockage and been hit in the process. It's a predictable thing that happens around the city, and it shouldn't.
Rocktim Mitra, a professor at TMU's School of Urban and Regional Planning, says roads are too narrow to handle construction, drivers, and cyclists at the same time, something the city should be fixing.
What I'd like to see is that instead of being reactive, our city officials should take proactive actions in making our streets safer.
In response to questions about this specific collision, the city said in a statement that police are investigating and encourage people to keep bike lanes clear. Now, a whole range of traffic fines are expected to go up next week. One of them for blocking bike lanes will go up from $150 to $200. And this upcoming Wednesday, cycling advocates are holding a bike ride right here in the Yorkville neighborhood to honor the young victim. Nama Weingarten, CBC News, Toronto.
5 months after a man was killed and a teen boy critically injured in a pair of random shooting attacks in the Jane and Finch neighborhood, police still haven't made any arrests. The 40-year-old father had only been in Canada for a couple of months before he was killed. His family recently arrived from Ghana for the funeral. Talia Ricci has more.
For the 4 children and wife of Adu Boache, the pain of his death is still fresh.
I started crying. He was once a good father to me and his family.
Boache's oldest son vows to take care of his younger brothers and his mother as best he can, but their future is uncertain.
We don't have anything because my father was the breadwinner for the family, and then for his son and then wife and then his mother.
On Saturday, the funeral is planned for the 40-year-old father who was killed in a pair of random shooting attacks back in February in the Jane and Finch neighborhood. A 16-year-old waiting for the bus was critically injured after being shot in the face by the same suspect, but he survived. Boache had only been working in his new job at a warehouse for a couple of weeks before he was killed in the random attack. His goal was to support his family back home.
When anything happened to a Ghanaian, we support any way we can.
The Ghanaian Canadian Association of Ontario helped the family find a place to stay, and they're currently looking for some longer-term accommodations.
This is just an innocent person who just came to the country, I think a month or two, and, minding his business and was shot. And they have nobody to really take care of them when they go back. So we're going to see what, the government can do for them because, their father is a victim here.
No arrests have been made. Toronto police said there are no new updates in the case, but they're still welcoming any tips from the public. Back in February, police said the attacks were carried out randomly by the same suspect or suspects.
Whenever someone who commits a crime like that is at large, I think we all feel at risk.
At the time of the attacks, community members, politicians, and police went on a prayer walk to honor the victims, build connections, and call for change. Councillor Anthony Peruzza says a number of community safety meetings also took place.
It would make us all feel a lot safer knowing that an individual who's capable of committing this kind of heinous crime and tragic crime is brought to justice.
Reflecting on how good of a father Adu was, Dixon says he will miss his laugh, playing with him, his love of soccer, and the stories he told.
Always, if I need something, if I saw him, he would get it for me right now. Just a second.
Talia Ricci, CBC News, Toronto.
Fallout continues from the cheating scandal surrounding the Canadian women's soccer team. Bev Priestman was removed as the team's head coach and sent home last night. Her removal follows the exit of 2 other coaching staff members on Wednesday. Actions taken after a drone was used to spy on a rival team in France. Thomas Dagg has the latest.
It's David for Canada!
Weeks after the men's national team thrilled Canadians with a historic run at the Copa America tournament, now comes a blunt admission from Canada Soccer's top executive.
I'm aware of an instance of attempted drone usage during Copa America.
The revelation adds a new layer to the growing scandal surrounding the National Soccer Federation. Amid allegations, staff used drones to record opponents training in private. Canada Soccer now describes the spying as systemic.
Make no mistake, there's absolutely no room for this kind of conduct occurring.
Longtime captain Christine Sinclair insists we were never shown or discussed drone footage in team or individual meetings I've been present for. And Canada Soccer says the current men's head coach Jesse Marsh denounced the practice. His predecessor is now distancing himself too.
In my time as a head coach at an Olympic Games or World Cup, we've never been involved in any of those activities.
So who knew and since when? Canada's women's squad is competing without their head coach, with Bev Priestman sent home from the Olympics, her future uncertain. After New Zealand's training was twice recorded with a drone, leading to a Canada soccer staffer's arrest and ejection. Concerns now that the fiasco could cast a shadow over Canada's gold medal win 3 years ago, leading to this visceral reaction.
Makes me ill, makes me sick to my stomach.
Cara Lang, another former national team member, is beside herself too.
The current players, regardless of how they perform in this tournament now, there will be a black mark on their success, and they will have to defend their future successes as well.
Canada Soccer says it won't estimate how long its independent external review will take, but based on what the Federation already knows, it's not ruling out multiple firings. Thomas Daigle, CBC News.
Volunteers at Global Medic packed hygiene kits today to support wildfire evacuees in Jasper, Alberta.
Volunteers here are actually packing comfort kits, hygiene kits, soap, toothbrush, toothpaste, shampoo. I guarantee you, so many people had fled, they don't have a long-term supply of this. So we're packing kits. You can see we put them in Ziploc bags to make them a kit, whether they're for men or for women.
The kits will be flown out to Jasper and be distributed to families in need. Global Medic has been assisting in the fight against the wildfires by also providing fire skid units that can be placed on the back of pickup trucks. The units are equipped with water tanks, a pump, and a hose that can be used to help firefighting efforts. CBC meteorologist Ryan Snodden joins us now with a look at our forecast. And Ryan, here it's another gorgeous day and a great way to end the work week.
Yeah, that's right, Kelda. An A-plus day today and an A-plus weekend shaping up in the city. And if you're traveling to cottage country this weekend, it's going to be fantastic everywhere. That's the good news. High temperatures today, 24, 25, 26, 27 in Hamilton. But again, the humidity nice and low. Thanks to this area of high pressure that's been ushering in this much fresher air mass. Gone is the mugginess, and I think we'll all be thankful for that. That area of high pressure will continue to dominate this weekend, driving the wet weather off to our north and keeping the wet weather off to our south. And yeah, we're just going to be nice and comfy. So for tonight, we'll see just a few clouds and temperatures dropping down into the mid-teens for the most part by tomorrow morning, maybe a couple of 13s on the board. If you're heading north, be mindful dropping closer to 11 degrees in places like Muskoka. 14, 15, 16 degrees, as we said in the Golden Horseshoe for tonight. And then for tomorrow, we're looking at just a terrific day. Couple of clouds in the mix and a light sea breeze coming off the lake. So be mindful that, right downtown Toronto Island, maybe closer to 25, 26 in the city. And then we're going to find our warmer temperatures towards the north and west and likely a few 29s up towards Newmarket, Orangeville. And certainly the warmer temps are going to be in the mix as we move into Sunday as well, with this area of high pressure continuing to dominate. Clouding up a little bit as we work into next week. A low to our east, but it's this low to our west that will eventually break that high down. As you can see, Monday, though, still pleasant. Temperatures right around 30 degrees. Not only for Sunday, but again Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, we will start to see the humidity increasing. That's going to increase our shower chances. It's also going to bump our humidex values up into the closer to the mid-30s. So enjoy the nice summer sweet air this weekend and get out and enjoy. Kelda?
Thanks so much, Ryan. And that's our show for you tonight. Thanks for joining us.